Can you just give us some insight into how you went about selecting the team for this week? How tricky was it?
Yeah, it's always difficult. Any All Black team is. We believe this team's the one to win on the weekend. Good balanced squad, a lot of experience. Guys that have played some really good test match footy recently.
No Ethan de Groot. What's the reasoning behind that?
Ethan didn't meet internal standards. Yeah.
Is that off field, on field?
Oh, just the internal standards, and generally didn't meet them, so he's not available for selection this week.
He'll be available in theory next week in Dublin if required.
Yes, correct. That's
Can you
correct,
talk us through the 9-10 combination there in the selection?
Cortez, obviously, he's had a great season so far. He's risen up to every occasion, and he's got a good experienced 10 outside him, so it's a good little combo, we believe, and it'll balance the squad.
How does England differ to the likes of Australia and South Africa, the more recent tests that you've played?
Well, we've played them. It feels like about a year ago since last time we played them, but it was only recently. The hard fought games. One score games right at the end. They created a lot of opportunities in those first two games, and so did we. And we just managed to finish a couple more than them. So they're a good squad, balanced squad that have playing at home. It's always part of the challenge as well.
Razor, is Bowden's selection at 10 a sign that you've got to play a slightly different style of rugby up in this part of the world?
A little bit. Bones' experience, he understands what it is with the Northern the tours. If it's out of his hands or off his foot or game management, he's very instinctive. The way he plays, but also knows how to get you around the field. So we believe he's the best one for this week. Yeah.
Scott, when we came down and saw you in July, you were just starting out on this venture.
Yeah.
You were nervous. You were hammering the coaching box. You were relieved after the wins.
That's an overview. Jeez. Thank you.
How do you feel you settled in to the job now? How are you building what you want to build?
Yeah, from 10 days to 10 test matches is a little bit different when you get a bit of time on your feet and you get to know your people and your processes are in place. But what I've learned, every test match has got its own little story. And this will be another one on Saturday. Obviously, incredibly hungry English team at home, and what an occasion it's going to be. You're learning on the job. I've learnt to understand, trust the process and trust yourself as a coach, what you've prepared, and once you do that, you can enjoy it a little bit more.
I'm just interested. I know this is old news for you guys, but
Yeah.
you started with Leon McDonald in the camp, and then he's now left. In terms of trying to impose your vision on the team and your philosophies and what you want, did that make it difficult? And has it been easier now you've got everyone in place moving in the same direction?
That was a wee back here. I think the key thing for us is, the amount of time that we've had together. The tour to South Africa was great. One of the gifts of rugby is touring together and the connection piece. You've got a great occasion at the end of each week, and you're living with each other, and you just become unbelievably connected. And that's what we did after that tour, and then we're on tour again, and a northern tour that's take us to the some of the top teams in the world. So what we've learned over this period of time has got us to here, and we're connected and ready to go.
Scott, I was wondering if you had any response to Joe Malakai comments this week on social media, saying that Haka needs binning.
Joe, yeah, I know Joe. I wonder if he wished he could have articulated himself a little bit better on that. Look, the haka for us, it's a custom. It's part of who we are. It's a DNA. It's you can welcome somebody. It's for occasions, for joy, for connection, and also for challenge. And we use it as a challenge, and we believe it's a great tradition of rugby. As all Pacific nations, do beforehand, just to honour where they've come from. So not just about the All Blacks, it's about us as a country. So it means a lot to us.
Scott, Joe Malakai's point was also about accepting it, allowing a response to the challenge. What's your thought about the fact that responses aren't allowed?
we had to dig a little bit deeper into how that is. Obviously, it's the respect thing, isn't it? From there, what does it do respectfully? How do you create it as something that when they've finished, how can you be a sign of respect? Like, is it because the crowd enjoy it, don't they? You know, they know this is the special occasion. How often do we come up here? And what is it? You know, some clap, some put a plane over the top, some whatever it is. But it's you know, there's a lot of meaning behind it, and whatever, you know, the response is, it's got to be meaningful and respectful.
When England formed the Arrow formation
Yeah.
in 2019, Steve Hansen said afterwards he had no problem with that.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, did you enjoy that as a spectacle?
Was a clear meaning, wasn't it? You know, behind it, and it was respectfully done. It's great. That's what we're all about.
And are you expecting a response on Saturday with what Joe said this week? Are you expecting an English response to the haka on Saturday?
Oh, look, all I've heard about it, and you know, after that's a distraction. So whatever they come up with, we'll face.
Razor, were you tempted to match England with the 6-2 split on the bench?
No.
No? Okay. And why is that? Do you think the bench will play a big role on Saturday?
Yeah, of course it is. Always does. Mate, we've learned that this year particularly. Look, it's important. What we found is you get your balance right in between experience and a little bit of youth. People that have been there before, you know, it's a when you come on, you have to leave a good imprint. You have to get on the game straight away and execute. So look, I'm sure, you know, they've done it for their reasons with the 6-2, and they trust their squad, especially their backs. Yeah.
So, how do you think your game plan has evolved since you last played England? Like, what key metrics are you trying to hit now that you maybe weren't when you were just trying to win games at the start of the team?
We're trying to learn our own calls at that stage. I think we created a lot, like our metrics, our return. So when we look at the end of the game, opportunities that we've created, do efforts off the ball, or our shape to we've created but not finished. You know, and that's the big thing for us. We've taken pressure off oppositions because we haven't been able to put scoreboard pressure on or keep them down their end, and our sets are finished. Not on the positives. So when that's trending. When we get it right, you know, we're a good team.
Scott, what did you make of England's lineup? And you had a bit of joy in the set piece in July. Do you think that's an area you can target again?
Oh, look, you know, our scrum is, you know, one of our strengths. We like to use it positively.
What did you make of their lineup?
Look, it's close to what we expected for the team. Like, you don't want to play too much guess who, but you realise that's the homework we did with around their front row. You know, got some good young kids coming through, and be a hell of experience.
It's been a pretty golden month for New Zealand sport.
Yeah,
Cup,
yeah.
Women's T20 World Cup, testing in India. Does that add a bit of extra excitement around the group?
Oh, you look extremely proud when you see the country in the bottom of the world punching like that. You know, they stay in the fight. All those sports. You know, the women's cricket. What a story. You know, after the preparation going into it, I just think it shows our fighting spirit. You know, we draw on it. We're aware of it. We celebrate it as well, and it's something that will inspire us.
How much does it mean to New Zealand? Because it's now more or less an annual event to play a game at Twickenham. How important is that?
Oh, it's huge. It's home of rugby, isn't it? It's as they say. There's a couple of signs around here actually that say it just as a reminder, and it's special. It's you know, that's one of the places as a rugby player growing up in New Zealand. You know, when you're getting up in the middle of the night. You know, Twickenham and All Black Caches over the years have been some epic battles, and a lot of our heroes, All Black heroes, have, you know, represented and left their mark on Twickenham. It'll be another weekend for it.
So just been asked about Mark Talea, and from the second test, against England, Mark Talea switch wings for Saturday. What's the reasoning behind that? Is that anything to do with the English selection? Or?
No, Mark. We named our team on Tuesday internally, so there was no reaction to it. He can play both wings. He's in good form, Mark. You know, fortunately got some incredible depth in the wing position. You know, Sevy's playing good, Caleb Clark's playing good, but we just think it's the best for this weekend.
The world rankings have got
Ireland and South Africa in the top 2 places.
Yes.
Well, you can't be happy with that from a New Zealand point of view. What's it going to take to get New Zealand back up in those spots?
Keep winning.
Achievable on this tour? You'd be targeting a win every game?
Yeah, oh look, we've looked at England, like obviously we over the water, on the Sunday and play 6 days later, but England's our clear focus, and that's what you do when test match footy, you respect the team that's in front of you, and then we'll look at Ireland next.
Scott, if someone in the opposition camp or near it says something to cause a bit of upset, does that get used in the way it used to? Would you pin that up on the wall or talk about that to try and harness it?
I don't have to pin it up on the wall when you're at social media. I think, and I personally don't, but the boys are aware of it, and they look. Look, we don't use it as such to say this is what's been said. It's disrespectful. I think, especially in this regard, because it's probably happened before. But we'll discuss it and decide how we deal with it respectfully.
You got 3 straight games against the 3 best Northern Tour teams, as well as Italy. How exciting is that challenge as a whole this month?
Yeah, it's good. When you get the calendar at the start of the end, you look at it and you think, okay, really, here we go, 14 tests. It's not often you get to play 14 tests, but with the end of your tour, you're going to find out about yourself, and that's what we've talked about. As a group travelling, the honour it is to wear the jersey and go and play on these incredible grounds and represent yourself. So just walk towards it, step towards it, and just deal it a week at a time.
Razor, just want to go back to the 19 combination. Damien's obviously started 8 tests for you this year. How much of that decision at 10 this week is to do with what you haven't necessarily seen from Damien throughout the season?
Good leading question. Look, I think when we gave Bowden a crack, he was great. And as I mentioned before, just tactically, how this game's played, we know either of them are awesome off the bench, and with Bowden, it's his chance. You've got to have 2-3 10s in your team that play. Most top teams now give the guys opportunities in this part of the calendar, and it's his.
Is there anything that touring this part of the world challenges in your players? Now you only play Super Rugby among yourselves in Australia. Is there anything that coming up to this part of the world, whether it's England or any of the other Northern Hemisphere opponents, that offers something different as a challenge, tactically, or any way you put it?
We're glad it's an afternoon kick-off. That's the first thing. I think everyone is, isn't it? Afternoon footy is how good. It is. There's always difference. There's nuances, but because we had a good look at them, in July, in England in July, now we get a chance to do it again. Look, they're willing to play. We've seen the Premiership. They've got some great shape. You've got some great outside backs. They still play, but there's also the tactical side. The territory and making sure that you clear in cleanly. There's all those aspects towards it, but they're going to play. That's what we're here for.
Razor, just sort of go back to Bowden for a second. Obviously, World Player of the Year a couple of times. Obviously, you knew a lot about him from externally, but has he managed to surprise you a little bit this year in terms of getting to work with him and seeing what he does? Has that actually surprised you a wee bit?
It's probably confirmed. I knew he was professional, but he's ultimate. Like day to day, his daily habits, his ability to, in the team, stand up and demand what's required. Very articulate and he knows the game well. I've been impressed in that regard, and he's performed when we gave that opportunity, either at the end of games or now that the last Test match against Australia. So he's had a good week.
And Razor, you mentioned that there are some young England players that are obviously coming up.
Yeah.
Have you had to prepare especially for any of those players? Looking at Cunningham, South, Faye, Barbosa. I know you mentioned we played a few of them over the summer, but prepare especially for them this week.
Yes, we know their strengths, and that's a big part of it. We know their strengths. We know what they can create with quick ball and just their little nuances that make them different. That's why they're in their England team. We understand what they bring. that's part of our.
Let's go. All right, we'll kick off.
Jordie, how's the injury gone, and you're back at full tilt?
Yeah, good, thanks, Elliot. Had a good couple of weeks preparation in camp, and this week's gone really well, so I'm pleased with where I'm at.
Do you feel ready to go straight into, I guess, the pressure cooker of a Twickenham test without any rugby for the last 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, for sure. We put ourselves in situations in training that are going to set us up the best we can for what's at stake this weekend, but I mean, there's, I guess, no question that the stadium of Twickenham and plenty of thousands of English supporters, it's going to be a great night, so it's going to be a step up.
When you suffered that injury, did you think it was about the sort of time you'd be able to get back on the park?
Yeah, it's about the time frame, 6 weeks, so everything's gone to plan, and yeah, just grateful that it wasn't something significant and long term, and I'm back in a position now where I can play for the All Blacks again, so I'm very grateful.
Jordie, if you look back to July and when you played England twice back in New Zealand to where the team is now, where do you think you've grown and developed?
I mean, it's always up for question, but internally we feel like we've grown a lot, and we're taking a lot of confidence from that. We're learning each week, and different guys have had opportunities throughout the year and stepped up and grown massively in that space, which is pleasing. And but we're under no illusion, England they're growing as well, and they're a great side and back at home, so a formidable side at home as well, and it's a great challenge. So I'd like to think we're taking a few steps ahead.
What's your relationship like with Bowden at a professional level when you play it in a 10-12 combination as opposed to 12-15? How do you manage him?
Great question. It's actually the first time I've been outside Bodie in a black jersey, so that's exciting. It's been a long time coming, but like he just gets about his work, and I'd like to think we've got a good combination now that we can trust each other with what we're doing, and it's just about getting our guys around the park and putting ourselves in good positions to play the game of rugby we want.
Sam, can I ask you the same question as before? Where do you think this All Blacks team has come since the last time you faced England?
Like looking back at some of the footage from when we played them last time, I think like we're just a lot more sure about our game, if that makes sense. Like when we played England last time, we'd only come in, there was a lot of new terminology with the changes of coaching, like so we were learning all the time, and through playing test matches together, working, coaching, playing relationship, you just build trust and an understanding of what works well for this team. And I look at some of our defence stuff, we've come a long way in just our understanding of what we're trying to achieve and how we achieve it, and like our attack is a lot more fluid, I feel, than it was back then, and that's purely just repetition and trial and error of what works for this team, what doesn't, and how we can make tweaks. So well, that's the game of rugby, or the process of playing each week, is putting something out there in the weekend, evaluating what worked, what didn't, what can we tweak, and how can we get better. And yeah, I feel like we've made some big strides.
And it's a massive test, isn't it, for you guys as well, coming up here, end of year tour, some pretty big teams that you guys are facing as well?
Yeah, we've been on a few northern tours in our time now between Jordie and I, and I'd say this is as tough a schedule as we've had, but at the same time, like, it's pretty exciting. It's to test ourselves out, and it's a pretty big one to start.
Sam, you've been around a lot of All Blacks teams, you've captained All Blacks teams. What would you say the character of the Scott Robertson All Blacks team is, the philosophy? You said you have a better understanding now, was it 10 games in or whatever? How would you characterise this team?
Oh well, that's you almost give me a heads up for that sort of question. Put a preparation for that. How would I characterise it in one or two sentences? I think one that we are still learning. Like, we've got a bench that's we're continually trying to get the most out of, but we've got a really good mix of young guys coming through. Like, guys have really taken the opportunities this year, and if you look at the team now versus the start of the year, there's been some changes. So, but I'd like to think that we're a tough gritty team that likes to use the ball and can really punish teams when they make mistakes.
Jordie, have you got any? Having had a few seconds to think about it.
Yeah. Sam summed it up pretty well, but I feel like we've grown a lot. But it's also time that we start putting some performances out there, consistent performances that we're proud of, and
for 80
minutes. Yeah, we can't spend the whole year learning, and it's a great opportunity to test ourselves against some great sides up here. So I feel like we're ready.
And Razor was asked about Joe Malakai comments earlier this week about the hacker. When you boys in the squad see that, you know, how do you react to that? Will there be a bit of extra niggle in the games tomorrow, do you think? Or Saturday, sorry?
No, I don't think so. I think Joe Malakai knew exactly what he was doing by throwing that out there. But to us, the hackers, it's something traditional, but it's also like in New Zealand, when we perform the haka to someone, it's a sign of respect. You know, it's performed at 21sts, at weddings. It's laying down a challenge, and that's up to the opposition how they would like to perceive that challenge. But to us, it's a sign of respect.
So when an opposition do respond, do you like that? Do you find that offensive? What's the sort of reaction within the team if another team do something back? You know, stand up to it in some way.
Look, like I said, we're laying down a challenge. If they want to do something else that signifies they're accepting the challenge, that's fine. Like, we'll just stick to the process, I suppose, of doing the haka and coming together and having some order and playing rugby. I think it's, if other teams, there's been numerous things in the past. I think it's a great spectacle. It's great for the crowd and people and rugby as a whole.
Do any of them stand out in your mind? Like ones that were just memorable because something unusual happened? I'm coming to you next, Jordie, so stand by.
No, I don't think so. It's quite a funny thing. You're laying down a challenge to the opposition, obviously, but at the same time, like, you're doing the haka with each other, so you're sort of connecting with your teammates either side of you. So although you're laying down a challenge to the opposition, you're quite focused internally on what you're doing. Yeah, quite hard to explain, but I hope that makes sense.
Any that spring to mind? Not really?
No, not really.
In the rugby league at the weekend, we saw England getting sort of very close to Samoa during, as the challenge. Obviously, in rugby union, that's not allowed. You've got to stay at the 10-metre line. For you, you spoke about the spectacle there. Would it increase the spectacle almost if that sort of 10-metre barrier was gone and we could have sort of a bit more of a face-off?
No, I think the 10-metre gaps makes sense. It's good. Keeps it clean.
Just coming back to Razor, his personality is, buoyant with the public and the media. He's a chirpy character. Is that rubbed off on the team? Is there a little bit of that in the team?
I don't think Razor's personality, he's who he is, and it's encouraged in this environment to be authentic and who yourself, and he sets the example there. But I think it's not going to change individuals' personality by any sense. We're just going to continue to be who we are. There's some buoyant guys in the team. There's some more reserved, like any mix of individuals, but. If anything, it just encourages people to be comfortable being themselves.